Welcome to session 5 of our Shelly Smola's Easter Quiet book, Embroider Along. As a reminder, because I just like doing this every time, this is a wonderful book full of activities for children. A little bit older than toddler, though, because it does have small pieces that some kids will put in their mouth. But there is a bunny puzzle, which is one of the things we're doing today, a concentration game, an Easter egg hunt, a fuzzy lamb who needs a bow tied, chicks that you can hide in an egg, and every page, or not page, but every set of pages has something to do. And if you're not keen on doing it as a book, you can make it as a quilt. Good morning, Norma. In this case, they're using Minky as the sashing pom-pom trimmer on the outside and rickrack along the inside. So our scheduled meetings, we have 2 more after today, March 19th and March 26th. March 19th will be the final one that has embroidery on it. March 26th will be focused more on finishing the book up, like sewing it together and such. As a reminder, you should, unless you're watching all of these in a row before you get started, hopefully you've already gotten this if you need it. It is a sheet I made that has all the thread colors, the names that they use in the, that Shelly Smola uses in the PDF, instructional PDF, and where you can write your thread number next to it to keep organized. It also shows all of the embroidery designs, and they are in the order in which I am covering them. So for this session, we have 3 designs. We have the bunny puzzle, and then the lamb pages 1 and 2. So for the bunny puzzle, you need felt, or a fabric that does not fray for the background. So in this case, I used yellow felt. Fabric that does not fray for the puzzle applique, I mostly used fleece. Fabric for the back of the puzzle, which I will show you in a little bit, and that can be pattern fabric. And for that, you want Steam-A-Seam 2 or a different double-sided fusible to make everything stick together. Good morning, Maria. So what I did is, this is the same fabric I used on my concentration cards on the back of them, but I got a piece big enough for the puzzle, and I ironed on Heat and Bond Light. And you might notice, especially down here, it's very obvious I used pieces of Heat and Bond Light. I have a bolt of it somewhere. I have no idea where it's at. I might have just remembered where it's at. Did not know where it was when I was working on this, but I have scraps, so I used scraps to put it on the back. It's going to adhere just fine doing it this way. The instructions say to use Steam-A-Seam 2. The difference is Steam-A-Seam 2, I believe one side is fusible and one side is sticky. So you want to prep your back fabric. Now on the bunny puzzle, there are applique pieces. There are a lot of applique pieces. So there's the tail, the bunny, carrots, carrot tops, grass, the bow on the bunny, and then there's 3 eggs and 3 flowers. For me, it's easier to have this listed out because then I can decide what fabric I want to use before I get started. So this is where I am not following the instructions in the design collection. The design collection instructs us to hoop the felt or the fleece, whatever your background fabric, without stabilizer. And that goes against most instructions. Like all my embroidery knowledge, there's only I can think of one instance I might hoop something without stabilizer, and it's a very, very specific thing. 99.9% of the time, you always use stabilizer. So I decided to use stabilizer. I used a medium weight tearaway. This also gives it a little bit more stabilization, like inside after it's done. So then I decided to float my piece of felt And what that means is I just stuck it on top of my hoop, and I used a basting box that's built into the machine to hold everything together. So then we are going to stitch color number 1, which is our placement line for our tail, which is down here. We are going to place our fabric over that line and stitch color number 2, which is the cutting line for the tail. And then I trimmed it close, but not too close. Like, I don't want to cut the trim. I don't want to cut into the cutting line. Some digitizers make it where you can. This is basically raw edge applique. You don't want to cut into that. And it's okay if it's just a little fluffier. It will look good that way. I think mine looks great. And then you're going to repeat that process of placement line, put fabric down, cutting line, trim it for the remaining applique pieces. So in this case, there are 12. And for simplicity, I embroidered all the placement and cutting lines in the same cream color. Because I am using mostly fleece, it really just gives definition. You can't really tell what color I did. But applique number 2 is the bunny body. And then we have our carrots, and then our carrot tops. So there are sometimes details, and I felt it was fine doing the details in white. You could, of course, change colors each time. And then we had our grass, and then our bow. In hindsight, I wish I would have made the bow something that stood out a little bit more against the gray, but I do love my purple. Then we have Easter egg 1, Easter egg 2, and then Easter egg 3 on the side. And I think I skipped a bit. Now we get to see how many pictures might be out of order, because then we have our flower, which I did use a yellow that's slightly different. In person, it does look, there's more contrast between the background and this yellow flower. I guess I just skipped a picture. So you got 1 with 2. Then we have our pink flower and our blue flower. At this point, all our appliques are done. Yay! And you'll just continuing embroidering, doing our little fireflies. But after it does the Happy Easter color, which is the firefly bodies as well, you want to stop, because we want to put our fabric on the back to hide all of our seams. So how I did it, because I was using Heat and Bond Light, which is a double-sided fusible, Well, that was the scroll wheel on your mouse changes slides very quickly. I'm sorry about that. Keep my finger away from that. I removed the paper on the back so you can see it's shiny. That is the fusible. And I did not actually fuse it at this time. I used spray adhesive, so I used 505 to stick it to the back of my hoop. You can press things in a hoop, but sometimes it takes a smaller iron than you might have. I did use a slightly larger hoop than I needed to, so I could have made it work, but honestly, it's easier just to do it after the fact. Plus, after the fact, when I pressed from the back, so I pressed on the printed fabric side, which helps protect the felt and the fleece. Okay, but before we get to that, you have the back on there and you stitch color 28, which is our puzzle pieces, which I did in pink. You do want to do this in a nice kind of contrasting color so you can see them. It will make life easier later. Then you'll remove it from your hoop and press with an iron to attach the backing fabric better to the front, because 505 and most spray adhesives are not permanent. What I did not take pictures of or put in this PowerPoint, what I actually did is I did remove my basting stitches. And then I tore the medium weight tearaway stabilizer to the edge of the pink so that it would not show. Now, what I did take pictures of is how I trimmed it. So I found a scallop rotary cutter blade, or rotary cutter, at work. It's something that's been there for years, but you can get like pinking blades for your rotary cutter. You can get scallop blades. And so I found the one I liked, or because there was two at work. I found the one of the two I had access to at work, and trimmed it. And this is actually how we're going to trim our pages, but we'll get to that. And whenever you do this, what I recommend is doing like left and right first, and then top bottom, or top bottom left right. Now the blade I'm using, which is this one here, this is a scalloped rotary cutter. It is an old blade. It is an older rotary cutter. It doesn't get used much at all, but it is an older blade. So I did have to use scissors every once in a while to finish the trim. But considering I have used the scissors, I've used pinking shears and those work really well, but like the fun scissors that do scallops and stuff, they wouldn't even cut through this, and I would have to do the same thing. So if you have access to it, a scallop rotary cutter blade is wonderful, and I do love the details it gave me here. Then we're ready to cut out our pattern or puzzle pieces. So you want to go horizontally first, because that line is complete. The vertical lines are not complete, which I did not realize till after I tried to cut the bottom row vertically, or tried to start at the bottom and went vertically, and it did not work. So horizontal strips first, and then you do the vertical ones. Don't cut off extra. So if you don't like how it cut, too bad. It needs to stay that way so the puzzle pieces fit together. So if I was being really picky, I don't really like how this particular curve looks. Like there's a lot more on one side than the other. The kid that's playing with this won't care. They'll care if it doesn't fit together though, and if you take off extra fabric, it won't fit together. So you get all your puzzle pieces cut out and you have a completed puzzle. So now we're going to go to our lamb pages. And this is going back to, I believe, like session 2 when we were doing stuff like this. For what you want for them. Felt or fleece fabric that does not fray for the background of each page. 6 1.5-inch squares of fabric that won't show. They're going to be on the back. An X-Acto knife or a buttonhole cutter. I used my buttonhole cutter because we're cutting buttonholes. And then, although we haven't gotten to attaching ribbon yet, you want 1/3 yard of 1/2-inch or smaller ribbon, and that is actually going to be so we can tie a bow for the lamb. So to embroider this, we're going to hoop our background fabric with the stabilizer. I am using polymesh stabilizer, which is a cutaway, but you can use tearaway because I've used both. And I do use a strip of my background fabric to get the most hoopings out of it. Then we are going to embroider lamb page 1. So you're kind of going just normal, but you want to stop after color 12, which is our egg pocket cutting line. So it's going to stitch these egg pockets, and we want to take our hoop off the machine and cut our buttonholes open. And then we're going to put our 1.5-inch squares on the back of our hoop and stitch the egg pocket finish, which will just sew all the way around each egg pocket to close it off to make it a pocket. And we're going to do basically the same thing for the second lamb page. So we're going to hoop our background and our stabilizer together. We are going to do applique on this one. So after color 3, which is the lamb placement line, we're going to put our applique fabric over it. Again, I am using fleece. I thought fleece and a lamb go really well together. We'll stitch color 4, which is the cutting line. Trim that applique fabric around it, and then continue embroidering. Unlike the bunny puzzle, this is actually a finished applique, so it will do a satin stitch all the way around. But even if you don't get perfectly close, it will still be fine. But again, we have egg pockets, so we'll stop after color 14, which is the egg pocket cutting line. We'll take our hoop off, cut our buttonholes open with either a buttonhole cutter or an X-Acto knife, place our 1.5-inch squares on the back of the hoop covering up our egg pockets, and then stitch our last color, which is the finish. And it's just goes all the way around the pocket so that it makes it a pocket. So here are our completed designs. So we have our 2 lamb pages and our bunny puzzle. We are just doing these 3 because the bunny puzzle does take quite a bit more time than some of the other ones have. And as a bonus, to start getting ready for putting the book together, one of the things the original instructions recommend, and I do like, is it recommends using a scallop or a pinking rotary cutter to make fun edges on your page, or trim your pages down. You could make them straight. It's a personal preference, although whenever we put this together, the edges will not be finished. And by that, I mean they won't be to the inside, they will just be outwards. But each page gets trimmed to 7x9, assuming you're doing the 5x7 embroidery designs. And then, as I did with the bunny puzzle, you want to do the top and bottom, and then left, right, or left, right, top, bottom. And at this point, you can go and trim all of the pages we've done so far. And that will make it faster to put it together whenever we get to that lesson. So just a tiny little extra little thing you can do. I was planning on doing it yesterday, and after I got my lambs done, I was interrupted. And by interrupted, I mean I was at work and I had to, work. So are there any questions or comments? And as I wait on those, because I know there is a stream delay, I want to show you what we're doing next time. So our next session, we are doing the front cover and the back cover. The front cover, Norma, I don't actually have them with me. That sounds crazy. I don't have all my pages with me. I will post that. I will try to get pictures of that tomorrow, and I will post that on somewhere. Let me think. Where am I going to put it? I will post them on our tutorial page on berninaokc.com. So the page that has all the PowerPoints on it and the videos linked, I will post it all there. Okay, so especially if I get them trimmed first. So the front cover has a pieced Easter egg, and then the back cover has an applique bunny that if you have a pom-pom, which I don't think I have a pom-pom, I might have to go out and get some of those. You can put a pom-pom on for the bunny tail, and it's just super sweet. One of the things you can do, and something you have to think about kind of in advance, is if you have a printable fabric, you could print a picture for the center of the Easter egg. I'm hoping personally that my book will be used by multiple children, so I am not going to put any particular person's face on it, but if you are making it for one child and that's who it's going to be for and that's important, you can put their face on it, which I think is kind of cool. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, so thank you all for watching. I will get those pictures posted hopefully tomorrow. It might be Sunday. It depends on what work's like tomorrow, like always. And we'll be back March 19th for the last couple of hoopings. Oh, there is one piece I am missing here. There is an optional tab you can do. It's like hanging out over here that you can't see. And that will also be the one of the embroidery designs for March 19th. But we'll see you all March 19th. And hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.